Have you ever heard of scams so ridiculously stupid that even Hollywood would sit back and laugh until they cried? Today we're diving into the 31 dumbest scams in history where logic, luck, and sheer nonsense collide in ways utterly unbelievable. Each story is a logic disaster that will make you laugh while marveling at the imagination but fail spectacularly. From counterfeit money car thefts to crazy online scams, they're all so absurd it's hard to believe. Brace yourself because the very first story will shock you right from the start. Story 1. $1 million paper at the bank. You won't believe what happened at a bank in Pittsburgh. A man brimming with confidence wearing a shiny suit and a "I'm a genius" smile walked in and slapped a $1 million bill on the counter, asking the teller, "Can you change this into some cash for me?" The teller glanced at the bill, raised an eyebrow, and laughed. Just by looking, anyone could tell the bill didn't exist. Immediately, they called the police. The man stood there, face turning pale, utterly confused, while the cops arrived and handcuffed him in front of all the customers. This story proves one thing: sometimes over-the-top ambition can get you arrested on the spot, and a non-existent bill is enough to ruin any plan. Remember, in real life, not everything you think is a brilliant move actually works. Story 2. Family member on the space station. You would never think an email could make you both laugh and shake your head in disbelief like this. A scammer decided to email an American claiming that their relative had been stuck on a Soviet space station for 14 years and urgently needed $3 million to buy a ticket back to Earth. At first glance, the story sounded grand and urgent, but the recipient immediately grew suspicious. Who would let a family member be trapped on a space station for decades without NASA knowing? The scammer didn't realize that logic and a little knowledge of space were enough to ruin the whole plan. When the recipient responded by saying, "Let me check with NASA and Google a bit," the scam failed instantly. This story proves one thing: sometimes imagination can go so far, even NASA would have a hard time believing it. And in real life, the craziest scams can collapse with just a bit of logic and common sense. Story 3. Self-confessing extortion note. Some scams make you wonder, how can anyone be this stupid? A man claiming to be a criminal genius decided to write an extortion note to a bank, but things got extremely grand when he wrote it right on his own deposit slip, including his full name, address, and phone number. The idea seemed smart at first, but in reality, it was like a map leading the police straight to his house. Just minutes later, the police showed up at his door while the man stood there, face pale, completely confused. The bank teller looked at him, shrugged, and went back to work as he realized a brilliant plan can totally sabotage itself. Who would have thought that just a little care in writing a note could collapse your entire scheme? And here's clear proof that sometimes overthinking backfires. Story 4. Scammer calls mom while kid is right there. Some scammers think every trick can fool others, but in reality, sometimes they're unbelievably stupid. A scammer threatened a mother that her child had been kidnapped and demanded money immediately. Using a dramatic tone and fake yelling, he assumed the mother would panic and comply. But the problem was, the child was sitting right next to her eating popcorn and casually scrolling on an iPad. The mother immediately saw through the trick, laughed, and said, "If my kid was really kidnapped, please text me rather than impersonating them to steal my money." He panicked, didn't know what to do, and ended the call in complete embarrassment. A clear lesson for would-be scare artists. Not every script works, especially when the victim is fully alert and has their child right there. Story 5. Invisibility potion, invisible statue. Have you ever heard of the weirdest scams? A seller decided to launch an invisibility potion and an invisible statue to make quick money. Customers were drawn in by the promise that simply drinking the potion or placing the statue on a table would make them invisible, or give them a one-of-a-kind statue that the naked eye cannot see. But in reality, customers tried it right on the spot, looked around, and realized nothing happened. The potion had no effect, the statue was empty, and of course the money was gone. The scam failed completely, but the story makes anyone who hears it laugh. Turns out being invisible doesn't mean being safe, and sometimes the weirdest tricks become a laughing matter for everyone. This proves that if you believe in the utterly illogical, your money will disappear faster than you think. Story 6. Fast food quick change fail. Can you believe a brilliant money scam could fail right inside a fast food joint? A confident man walked into the store armed with a perfect plan, trick the cashier into giving him extra change or eat for free. He flipped the bills in his hand, calculated mentally thinking, "I'm a financial genius, no one can outsmart me." But things went haywire when he miscounted the money. During an argument with the cashier, he realized that instead of getting extra cash, he had overpaid. The cashier smirked and the customers around shook their heads in disbelief. The brilliant scam failed completely, creating an unforgettable, absurd comedy scene. The simple yet profound lesson: sometimes thinking you're too clever backfires. When your own logic works against you, all you can do is sit there, bite your lip, look around and ask, "What did I just do?" Story 7. Teen uses fake ID. Thor Odinson. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A teenage boy decided to use a fake ID to get into a bar with the name on the card as Thor Odinson and the photo Chris Hemsworth. He confidently approached the bouncer thinking that a serious face and the fake ID would be enough to fool everyone. But the bouncer wasn't that easily fooled. He looked straight at the ID, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Who do you think you're fooling?" Of course, the teen was immediately denied entry. Other patrons in the bar laughed out loud at the scene. The boy blushed embarrassed, realizing that not everyone can be fooled by the God of Thunder, especially those who had seen Thor in the Marvel movies. The lesson: if you want to be the God of Thunder in real life, make sure the bouncer isn't a hardcore Marvel fan. Once again, real-life logic always beats silly imagination, and sometimes the most confident person ends up being the most embarrassed. Story 8. Luxury car rental flip fail. You won't believe that a quick money scheme could fail just because of technology. A scammer rented a luxury car intending to immediately resell it to an eager buyer for a profit. In his mind, it was a perfect plan. Rent the car, make easy money, no one would suspect a thing. But everything fell apart when the car was equipped with advanced GPS. The moment the scammer left the allowed area, the car's system automatically locked him in, leaving him stranded in the middle of the road. Flustered, he tried to start the car but failed. Before he could collect himself, the police arrived, discovered the whole situation, and blocked the road. This story reminds us that technology always finds a way to catch you, and clever plans can sometimes turn into disasters. Sometimes thinking you can bypass every rule only leaves you standing there watching the cops arrive. Story 9. Spray-painted gold bars. You won't believe that a quick money scheme could fail in such a hilarious way. A scammer decided to sell fake gold by painting lead bars gold. In his mind, this was the perfect trick. The shiny gold color would make customers believe they were holding a real treasure. But in reality, customers picked up the bars and immediately realized they were too light, easily breakable, and completely worthless. Other tests also showed that this gold was nothing more than painted lead. Customers grew suspicious, called the police, and the scammer was caught on the spot, his grand plan shattered. Turns out, never assume painted gold is real gold. The ambition for quick money can sometimes lead to embarrassment, shame in front of a crowd, and police waiting at your door. A laugh-out-loud lesson about absurd scams that fail spectacularly. Story 10. Stolen car with no manual transmission skills. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A highly confident thief rented a luxury car thinking he'd make a getaway like in an action movie. He got in, turned the key, ready to floor it. But the problem was he didn't know how to drive a manual. The car kept stalling, shaking in the parking spot, forcing him to fumble with the clutch, gas, and steering wheel. Pedestrians peeked through the windows and laughed, while the police, thanks to surveillance cameras, quickly realized what was happening. After a few chaotic minutes, the thief had to run on foot, leaving the luxury car behind and his perfect escape plan in shambles. Who said stealing is easy when the car is working against you? This is vivid proof that sometimes overconfidence combined with a lack of basic skills turns even the grandest plan into a hilarious disaster. Story 11. Home printed money, only one side. You'll laugh when you hear this scheme. A man decided to maximize savings by printing money at home to pay for gas. He carefully cut each sheet, thinking a little handiwork would make the plan look realistic. In his mind, it was the perfect trick. The cashier wouldn't suspect a thing. But the problem appeared the moment he handed over the bill. It was printed on only one side, the paper was wrinkled, edges unevenly cut, and the cashier immediately recognized the absurdity. A burst of laughter erupted, and 911 was dialed immediately. He stood there blushing, completely clueless about what had just happened. Sometimes creativity backfires. A plan that seemed clever turned into a live comedy show, making everyone around laugh uncontrollably and remember the home-printed money fiasco forever. Story 12. Clear bag probation fail. You'll laugh when you hear about this ridiculously fail story. A criminal decided to go shopping with a clear plastic bag filled with personal documents, complicated files, and even papers about his previous prison sentence. In his mind, this transparent trick would make everything go smoothly with no one suspicious. But reality was completely the opposite. The store staff saw everything in the bag, and the police patrolling nearby immediately spotted the criminal. To his astonishment, the cops approached and arrested him on the spot. No chasing or further investigation needed. Shoppers around shook their heads, laughing at the absurdity. Who said transparency is always good? Sometimes it's way too obvious. A humorous lesson that overconfidence and perfect transparency can make you the easiest target. Story 13. Vending machine rock fail. You'll laugh when you hear this scheme. A scammer decided to be clever by carving a rock into a coin to use in a vending machine. He thought that with a little patience and skill, the fake coin would fool the machine and get him a free snack without spending money. But things were not as simple as he imagined. The vending machine was not fooled. The rock coin was either too hard or too light to be accepted, and all his efforts went up in smoke. He wasted hours, days of work with a result, completely failing. Shoppers around could only shake their heads and laugh out loud. Persistence doesn't equal success. This is a humorous lesson that no matter how skillful you are, if the idea is too ridiculous, failure is inevitable. And of course, all his effort is now just a story for others to laugh at. Story 14. Rent a hitman using real info. You won't be able to stop laughing at this scheme. A woman decided to solve a personal problem in an extremely bold way, filling out an online hitman order to take out her ex-husband. But the key point was, she used real information, name, address, phone number, even email, and details about her ex. In her mind, it was the perfect plan, ensuring no one would know it was her. But reality was completely different. The person she thought was a hitman turned out to be an undercover cop monitoring orders like this. When they showed up to discuss the contract, she was completely shocked, clueless about what had just happened. Her bold plan collapsed in seconds. Maybe never use real info when doing something illegal. This is a humorous proof that sometimes excessive care and overconfidence can land you straight into the hands of the police. Story 15. Taken down by jujitsu. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A confident thief decided to attack a group practicing jujitsu in the park, thinking he could easily steal money or phones. In his mind, everything was in his favor. A small group, daytime, no one paying attention. But he didn't expect that the jiu-jitsu group was practicing techniques against multiple opponents at once. The moment he lunged, they quickly used him as a practice target, applying several locks, twists, and throws to the ground. He struggled, screamed completely out of control, while nearby police saw everything and moved in to arrest him. This story reminds us that sometimes careful victims turn the tables on criminals. Overconfidence combined with misjudging the situation turned the thief from dangerous to a laughingstock in front of everyone. This is a hilarious but completely convincing fail. Story 16. Computer virus scam versus cybersecurity expert. You won't be able to stop laughing at this scam. A scammer decided to call a victim, claiming their computer was infected with a serious virus and demanded remote access to fix it immediately. In his mind, this was the perfect way to steal money or data with the victim unsuspecting. But he had no idea the victim was a cybersecurity expert. As the scammer began his actions, the victim calmly reversed the connection, hacked the scammer's own computer, and started deleting data locking accounts and leaving him panicked. Within minutes, the scammer went from attacker to a complete victim, losing both access and money. Turns out, technology can fight back against bad actors. This is a humorous yet insightful lesson. Sometimes the very tools you plan to exploit become weapons against you, causing your brilliant scheme to collapse right before your eyes. Story 17. GameStop robbery, resume fail. You won't be able to stop laughing at this scheme. A thief decided to rob a GameStop, thinking everything would go smoothly. He prepared a mask, a backpack, and seriously threatening words. But what he forgot was, he had submitted a job application at that very store just 20 minutes earlier. The moment he walked in and demanded money, one of the employees looked at the name tag and recognized the familiar face. It was the same person who had applied. The employee immediately called the police, and the thief was caught within minutes before he could carry out any plan. Customers witnessing the scene couldn't stop laughing. Sometimes your own job application can betray you. This is vivid proof that overconfidence and neglecting small details can turn a perfect plan into a hilarious disaster. And of course, real-life logic always beats your silly imagination. Story 18. Slip and fall staged fail. You won't be able to stop laughing at this scheme. A person decided to fake a fall in a store to scam insurance. He prepared thoroughly spilled water on the floor, struck a painfully dramatic pose, and shouted to get attention. In his mind, it was the perfect plan cameras wouldn't catch. Him's staff would panic and insurance would pay in full. But reality was completely different. Surveillance cameras recorded everything from spilling the water his fall pose to sneaking a glance at his watch before starting. The staff and manager reviewed the footage and immediately spotted the fraud. He was caught, received no money, and his name was added to the store's exposed scam list. Cameras never sleep and logic always wins. No matter how well prepared, a ridiculous scam can fail hilariously right in front of everyone. Story 19. Dairy Queen $200 fake bill. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A confident customer walked into Dairy Queen, bought a delicious blizzard, and pulled out a fake $200 bill to pay, thinking the cashier wouldn't notice. In his mind, it was a clever trick, both to steal and to test the cashier. But reality was completely different. The cashier looked at the bill, raised an eyebrow, and immediately realized that a $200 bill doesn't exist in real life. Without hesitation, the employee called the police while the customer stood there blushing and completely stunned. Other customers witnessing the scene laughed hysterically, unable to believe the sheer absurdity. There's no such thing as a real $200 bill, even if you think you're clever. This proves that sometimes the dumbest tricks not only fail, but also make you a laughingstock in front of the crowd and the police. Story 20. Sun ownership registration. You won't be able to stop laughing at this scheme. A confident man went so far as to register ownership of the sun, hoping to collect money from energy companies using sunlight. In his mind, it was a grand plan. He thought the whole world would have to pay because the sun belonged to him. But reality was completely different. Lawyers and legal experts quickly pointed out that although the registration documents were accepted, he would be responsible for all issues related to sunlight, from sunburns and droughts to related illnesses. Just like that, his money-making plan turned into a massive legal disaster. Sometimes imagination goes beyond the limits of the law. This is humorous proof that not all bold ideas succeed, and sometimes excessive ambition only leads to consequences. Extremely absurd, but also extremely funny. Story 21. Selling snow online. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A person decided to sell fresh snow online, promising that customers would receive bags of snow freshly taken from the mountains. In his mind, it was a smart business plan. People would be excited to pay for a winter experience in the middle of summer. But things didn't go as planned. When customers received their orders, the boxes of snow had melted, turning into a soggy mess. Complaints were filed, and soon after, his online store was shut down. All the effort, work, and faith in the winter business plan melted away along with the snow. Not everything you ship actually reaches the customer. This proves that a crazy idea can fail completely, yet still make everyone laugh. Sometimes coming up with a unique trick doesn't mean you'll succeed, especially when the laws of physics are working against you. Story 22. Selling invisible cars NFTs. You'll laugh when you hear about this scam. A scammer decided to make quick money by selling invisible cars or NFTs to customers. In his mind, it was a genius plan. Customers would pay for something one of a kind without needing to see or touch it. He thought that just promising it would make people believe and transfer money immediately. But in reality, when customers received the product, they realized there was nothing. No car, no NFT, just empty space. Customers got angry, complained, and the scammer quickly lost all the money he had tricked out of them. His supposedly perfect plan completely failed, leaving him with a bitter yet extremely funny lesson. Sometimes invisible things become very real for the scammer. This proves that a ridiculous idea, no matter how clever it seems, can fall apart instantly when the other party is alert and sharp-eyed. Story 23. Hacking self-confession online. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A scammer had just pulled off a small theft, but instead of laying low, he bragged about it on social media. In his mind, this was a way to prove his skills and show off to friends, photos, videos, even check-ins at the location. Everything was perfect. but it quickly turned into a disaster. GPS and security cameras pinpointed his exact location, allowing the police to catch him right at the scene. While he confidently played online, everyone around couldn't stop laughing at the absurdity. Once social media gets involved, you're no longer anonymous. This proves that sometimes what you use to show off your cleverness becomes the fastest evidence against you. And of course, real-life logic always beats over-the-top online bragging. Story 24. Walmart thief returns items at the counter. You'll laugh when you hear this scheme. A thief decided to try his luck by taking items from Walmart, but instead of running away, he came up with a clever trick returning them at the counter for cash. In his mind, everything seemed perfect return. The items get the money, no one would suspect a thing. But the problem arose when staff noticed the items still had security tags attached. The employees immediately stopped the transaction and called the police. The thief stood there flustered, not knowing how to get out of this obviously ridiculous situation. Shoppers around couldn't stop laughing, while the staff shook their heads in disbelief. Not everything you take can be returned easily. This proves that sometimes a plan that seems clever can turn into a hilarious disaster, making the scammer expose himself and become a laughingstock in front of everyone. Story 25. Thief brags on Facebook. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A thief had just completed his mission at a store carrying a bag full of money, and instead of laying low, he came up with a super smart idea: post a photo of himself holding the cash on Facebook, showing off his haul to friends. In his mind, everyone would be jealous and he'd be admired. But things didn't go smoothly. Friends saw the photo, tagged him, and with GPS and location info, the police immediately knew exactly where he was. Within minutes, the thief went from master of hiding to an easy target caught on the spot. Shoppers and friends witnessing this couldn't stop laughing. Bragging online can expose you. This proves that sometimes overconfidence and showing off turn you into a victim of the law, and real-life logic always beats excessive confidence. Story 26. Car theft manual transmission fail. You'll laugh when you hear this one. A highly confident thief decided to try his luck by stealing a luxury manual car, thinking he'd make a getaway like in an action movie. He got in, turned the key, ready to floor it. But there was one huge problem: he didn't know how to drive a manual. The car shook, stalled repeatedly, forcing him to fumble with the clutch gas and steering wheel. Pedestrians looked through the window and laughed, while the police, thanks to surveillance cameras, immediately recognized the situation. After a few chaotic minutes, he had to run on foot, leaving the luxury car behind and his perfect escape plan in shambles. Learning to drive before stealing cars might be necessary. This is vivid proof that overconfidence combined with a lack of basic skills can turn even the grandest plan into a hilarious disaster and make you a laughingstock in front of everyone. Story 27. Slip and fall, fake injury. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A person decided to fake a fall in a store to scam insurance. He prepared thoroughly spilled water on the floor, struck a painfully dramatic pose, and shouted to draw attention. In his mind, it was the perfect plan. Cameras wouldn't record, his staff would panic, and he'd easily get the money. But reality was completely different. Surveillance cameras captured everything from spilling the water, his fall pose, to him checking his watch before starting the performance. The staff and manager reviewed the footage and immediately spotted the fraud. He failed miserably, received no money, and became a laughingstock for everyone around. You can't fool a camera. No matter how well prepared, a ridiculous scam can fail hilariously right in front of everyone, and real-life logic always beats overconfidence. Story 28. Computer scam reverse hack. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A scammer tried to trick a victim through their computer, claiming it was infected with a serious virus and demanding remote access to fix it immediately. In his mind, this was the perfect way to steal money or data without the victim suspecting a thing. But he had no idea the victim was a cybersecurity expert. As the scammer began his actions, the victim calmly reversed the connection, hacked the scammer's own computer, and started locking accounts and deleting data, leaving him panicked. Within minutes, the scammer went from attacker to a complete victim, losing both control and money. When technology fights back against bad actors, everything collapses. This is humorous proof that sometimes the very tools you plan to exploit become weapons against you, causing your brilliant scheme to blow up right before your eyes. Story 29. Identity theft versus actual victim. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A scammer decided to steal someone else's identity to submit a loan application. In his mind, it was a brilliant plan. Using the victim's name, social security number, and personal information, he thought he could easily take the money without anyone noticing. But the problem arose when he met with the bank employee. Sitting across from him was none other than the real victim whose identity he had stolen. The employee immediately noticed the discrepancy and rejected the application. The scammer stood there, jaw dropped, completely baffled, while the victim smiled smugly. You can't fool the actual victim. This is humorous proof that sometimes brilliant schemes collapse the moment they face the logic and alertness of the real victim, leaving the scammer embarrassed and a laughingstock for everyone around. Story 30. Thief trapped in an escape room. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A confident thief broke into an escape room after hours, thinking he could easily grab money or valuables inside. In his mind, everything was in his favor. Empty space, lacked security, and he'd escape before anyone noticed. But he had no idea that this escape room was designed to test guests' intelligence with complex puzzles and locked rooms. The moment he stepped inside, a series of mechanisms and automatic locks activated, trapping him completely. He tried to pick locks, twist, and turn everything, but all efforts were useless. The next morning, the escape room owner arrived and found him still stuck, unable to get out. Sometimes a game turns into a real trap. This is humorous proof that when you try to scam a place designed to challenge brains, the outcome can be ridiculous but entirely convincing. Story 31. Dairy Queen fake bill or ATM theft. You won't be able to stop laughing at this one. A confident scammer thought he was too clever, using a fake bill to pay at Dairy Queen or attempting to steal from an ATM, thinking no one would notice. He prepared, thoroughly confident that everything would go perfectly. But reality quickly woke him up. The cashier immediately recognized the fake bill, or the ATM surveillance cameras recorded the entire act, and the police arrived within minutes. The scammer stood there completely shocked, caught on the spot with no chance to do anything else. Customers and staff witnessing the scene couldn't stop laughing at the sheer absurdity. It turns out, even the smartest tricks can betray you. This is vivid proof that sometimes overconfidence and ridiculous schemes only lead to a disastrous yet hilariously unforgettable outcome. So we've just gone through the 31 dumbest scams in history, each failing in hilariously unexpected ways where logic and absurdity collide in the most surprising fashion. Everyone can't help but laugh at these clever but doomed antics. Have you ever seen someone pull off a scam this ridiculous? Share your story in the comments, and let's laugh and learn from human blunders together. If these stories made you feel a little smarter, hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next batch of hilarious logic-failing disasters.